Welcome, everybody, to Beer Guys Radio. Thank you for joining us. We love having you here. We love being here. So we've got some awesome guests this week, all the way from New Hampshire. We have Isaac. Is it Boucher, Isaac?
It's Boucher if you're French. Yes.
I'm
but
super French, man. Super French. So yeah.
But that is the preferred
pronunciation.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Awesome. And John Wagner. I think I can say that one right, unless it's
You
don't
have to say Wagner. No.
Wagner. Yeah. Don't go there, huh?
Yeah. Like, do you have your own group?
Yeah.
Any breweries in Africa?
I was reading that. Yeah, on your site. Yeah.
Interesting stuff there. Yeah. But guys, thanks for
crazy.
joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. So
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
talk beer here. But I tell you what, we started a few minutes early, and I think that's going to throw off some of the people that join us for the live stream. We're a little notorious for 3 to 5 minutes late typically. But,
okay.
So we're here right close to 7 o'clock. So I think that's pretty impressive. I'm impressed with this. Not something we pull off that often. But
We're setting a dangerous precedent.
We are. What is this being on time here? This is
I'm
crazy.
gonna keep them guessing.
Yeah.
Nate, they changed our button again. It's got some kind of outline on it. I never know what this thing's going to do.
That.
So we've got background music here, and there's a button that either loops it or not, and I'm not sure which is on and which is off. So sometimes we just have to go through, and if it loops, we start over.
Yeah. Was that your theme song? Yeah, I was digging that.
That music,
yeah.
That's the hype music that we've got there.
Right.
So
Gets you
Get
going.
excited.
Yeah.
But well, good deal, guys. Let's jump in. We're going to start the podcast. If you're watching the live stream, have any questions, comments, or anything, leave them in the chat. We would appreciate it. Here we go. Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Always good to be here. Good to have you with us. We are enjoying some beers. It's always good to get together, crack a beer, have some good conversation, sit down, chill out, all of our favorite things in the world. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how are you?
Hey, Tim, I'm doing great. Joining us today, we have John Wagner, the founder of Spyglass Brewing, and Isaac Boucher, the production director and brewer for Spyglass. We're going to talk about their big move, their latest beers, and, of course, everything IPA. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah. And also, we have Mo Mike Nate. Thank you for joining us, Mo Mike Nate.
It's my pleasure to be here. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thanks for joining, man. It's lovely to have you today. Lovely to have you there. So, well, guys, I want to start off with something because it's a big week here in Atlanta, and it's something that last night here in Atlanta, we had our very first Michelin guide announcements for Atlanta. And as a food nerd, I wouldn't say connoisseur. I think food nerd is probably more applicable for me, but I was excited, and I'm not a huge sports fan, and I'm watching the reveal ceremony, and I'm like, this must be how people feel when their team's in the Super Bowl. So I'm like, oh my gosh, who's going to get this? Who's going to get that? So we had some great recommendations there, but John, Isaac, John, I'll start with you. Have you eaten at a Michelin star restaurant before?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Isaac, how about you?
No, I definitely have not.
I have. Brian, Nate, have either one of you guys been to a starred restaurant yet?
No. I thought that I would have been able to say yes.
Well, you have now, right, Brian?
Well, I don't know if it's a starred one. I think I've been the Gourmand. Oh, have we been to Bacchanalia?
I thought you went. Isn't that where they did the pig carving class?
No.
Was that Abattoir?
It's Abattoir. I get the two confused, so I thought yes. I was going to say yes, I have, but unfortunately no. But the other place was great too, so no.
Okay.
I think that's in Star Provision. So I was thinking, did I go in there at one point in time, maybe, and have scone or something like that? I don't think so. No.
Yeah, Nate, would you mind Googling real quick? I didn't write it down. Who our stars are? I figure if we talk about it, we can announce that real quick. But some other awards they give out, they give what's called Michelin Recommended and also Bib Gourmand. And in chatting with my friends before the awards, I'm like, I think my budget and stuff is probably more Bib Gourmand level. So those are the restaurants that are highly recommended, but a little more value oriented. so maybe they're not hoity-toity enough to get an actual Michelin star. But it was nice that a few of the ones that I hoped would hit did hit. So they did get either Michelin recommended or the Bib Gourmand, like Deer and the Dove, which is a really nice, farm to table, field to table restaurant. Got the Michelin recommended. We had Little Bear, which is a cool restaurant in Atlanta's Summerhill neighborhood that got Bib Gourmand, and Antico Pizza, a pizza joint, got a nod there. So
it's good pizza. It really is.
So it was fun to see, and I think as an Atlantan, it was really cool to see us just get a guide. I mean, it's pretty big for a city to get a Michelin guide. So,
definitely.
That was exciting there. But Nate, I see you got the list there. Who got our stars? Who were the 1 stars here in Atlanta?
So you've already mentioned Bacchanalia. Atlas also got a star. Another restaurant,
Hayakawa. Yeah.
Pardon that pronunciation. Lazy Betty and Mujo.
Yeah, I'm not sure the way it's pronounced. But anyhow, if you're coming to Atlanta, make note. We won't dwell on that because we realize this is something that's probably more for us, our own preference there. But I'm going to have to get out to one. I'm going to have to see what the Michelin experience is about. So I'll ask Santa for a gift card so I can afford to go to a Michelin-starred restaurant. But a little more appropriate to Beer Guys Radio, Brian, the 25th annual Learn to Homebrew Day is coming up. So
that is correct.
Always been fun. John, Isaac, have you participated in these events in the Learn to Homebrew Days or passed on your knowledge there?
I have not. I did belong. Isaac and I both belonged to the local homebrew club in southern New Hampshire. Yeah. At various points. Actually, never together, but
oh yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
All right,
gotcha. I was more of a solo home brewer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was that so? That was you're one of the solo guys, huh? That's
yeah. But I joined the club later in my home brewing career.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who is. I mean, the guy seriously needs like a room for his medals that he's won, and he has brewed with our groups, but he's much more the type that I'm going to crank up a brew day and crank these out, go solo about it. We haven't homebrewed in a while, but we were very gregarious with our homebrew. It was we'd bottle share, we'd order pizza, we'd fire up the grill, we'd forget to drop the hops in because we drank too many big Charlie House. So we always had one buddy. Yeah. We had one buddy that joined us that was very meticulous, and he'd get so frustrated that we wouldn't be paying attention to stuff, but he always made sure our beer came out.
He saved a few of our beers, like, I put those hops in for you.
Oh
great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
That was kind of the same for me. It was a lot. When I first started getting into it, I had a corporate job as an accountant. So I'd get up at like 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings, and I just brew, and by noon, like I was all done and cleaned up, so me and my wife could go do something with the day and stuff like that. So that's why I started joining the homebrew club, because I'm like, I need to meet other people and talk to other people about brewing, because there's only the books and internet's fine, but it's great when to actually interact with other people that are doing it.
You learn so, and you know what? Speaking of the books and the internet, it's amazing those resources that we have now, that if you're not somewhere where you have a local club, you can still get on a forum or whatever and learn so much. So it's pretty cool. What you can do with that. Isaac, do you remember the first beer you brewed?
Oh yes, absolutely. It was it was the Irish Red extract kit from Northern Brewer.
Okay.
That was the first. That was the first thing.
Amber Ale.
What was that, John? What was yours?
Amber Ale.
Amber Ale.
Also,
about right.
Extract kit. Yep.
Brian, do you remember the first beer we brewed?
Wasn't it to the an ESB? Like, was it
ESB.
wife beater ESB? When we actually used the wife beater to, what was that, to soak the grains?
Did a partial grain brewing. We had some steeping grains there, and I forgot to get a grain bag, so I had a bag of brand new T-shirts there, and they were 100% cotton. I'm like, this should be fine. So we used a wife beater T-shirt for our first gift, and we figured that we would go ahead and name the beer Wife Beater ES. I still have the very first bottle of that we ever bottled. I guess that's been almost a decade ago now, Brian.
Yeah,
So
I bet that's really fresh right now.
Yeah,
it tastes great.
We should
hasn't
crack
blown
that
up,
open
right? Yeah,
for the
It's amazing
I've had a
cardboard.
couple others, but that one's still holding on there.
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty good job with that. We let them finish up pretty well. So we very rarely had issues like that, though. I know that
after we did a few. So
yeah, we had a few that were a little bit on the slow starter side. The that hipster brown, the Nostalgia one we did.
Yeah.
After a year of later, I opened one up and it was all carbonation. I'm like, oh, this was still active. Like we couldn't seem to get it to finish to save our lives. And then, over the course of 6 months or a year, then it decided it was going to go through all the sugars that it didn't, the yeast didn't decide to munch on beforehand. It still tasted good. Was just a mess to pour.
Still good. Well, the Learn to Homebrew Day, that is on November 4th this year. It's put on every year by the American Homebrewers Association. And the goal is just to demystify the art of homebrewing and provide resources for people that are interested in it. So they normally put out a recipe, either homebrew clubs or sometimes local breweries participate to kind of bring others into the fold of brewing. This year they put out 2 smash beer recipes, and for those not familiar with the term, smash is single malt and single hop. They used to be cooler. I don't hear about them as much anymore, but I think especially in home brewing, doing a smash brew is kind of a nice way to see what your grain and what your hops, bring to the table there. But they have a smash sensory blonde ale and something they're calling your first smash ale. So if you go to homebrewersassociation.org, you can get all of the information that you need. Now, Nate, I think unlike Brian and I's lazy self, you still homebrew. So do you have plans for Learn to Homebrew Day?
I do. It's actually going to be a smash beer.
Okay.
It's going to be 2-row with Centennial hops because I just have a bunch of extra ingredients left over. My first homebrew was an amber ale, and I currently have what I'm calling a petite pilsner because it came out at 3.46% ABV. So I've got that bottle conditioning right now and should be ready in about a week.
Nice.
Very good,
perfect,
man.
Actually,
very good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
I'm lower the ABV, the better kind of guy.
Yeah.
So.
I'm trying to find that magic line. You get too low, and it seems like you lose any character. You're just drinking water below a certain percentage. Like the one that I always use is a great example of super low ABV is Petite Prince. I think from
Jester King. Yeah.
Jester King. And I think, isn't it like right at 3 or
3.2, I think, but it might vary. Yeah. It's really low down there, but
but that's a good one. So good stuff. Well, Brian, one more news story. We'll move right along. This one's kind of interesting because of the outcome here, but Creature Comforts in Georgia, they had a group of employees that tried to unionize. They formed BUG, the Brewing Union of Georgia, and they had a vote recently. Brian, what happened?
Yeah, they had a vote on October 3rd, and it was actually administered by the National Labor Relations Board. The vote was 32-21 against unionization, so they voted it down. The original union announcement occurred back in January, so this is all. It seems like this has been going on for a long time, but it's only been about 10 months. So there's been a lot of fighting over it. Some interesting perspective I found online. Now, it's just a random stranger, so this could be completely bogus, but somebody saying that they are a Creature Comforts employee said that the reason they voted against it is the union didn't effectively communicate what their demands were going to be, and they secretly elected a non-employee president for the union. So they alienated some of the people who were really, really, evaluating. Do we want to give them our collective bargaining? Do we want to give our bargaining rights to this union? Or do we want to hold on to it for ourselves? And I think a lot of them decided it was probably in their interest to hang on to their bargaining rights for themselves. So, but in the news, all over the place for months and months on end, they got a lot of press, a lot of attention. So, it's interesting. I kind of thought it might happen. But hearing some inside scoop that we didn't hear before, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can understand why it might not have. So I should say that the Brewers Union is challenging the result. I left that off, so this isn't absolutely final at this point in time. This is just the current situation. So please continue, Tim.
No, I was just going to say, Brian. So my only experience working with unions has been in staffing. I've had to hire union employees for some of the jobs that we've done, some of the projects that we've worked, and it can be difficult from the employer side of things to work with unions and work with their requirements. There's certain things that, especially with like communications and electrical workers, I do this, but I don't do that. And I'm not going to take another person's job. So based on my experience, I don't have a favorable opinion of unions. I know as workers, especially in a lot of areas, people believe it's necessary to get what they deserve and what they need. I will say, for those not familiar with the state of Georgia, with our breweries, and that if there was one brewery in the state that would have surprised me, their employees wanted to unionize, it was Creature Comforts. So hearing that they wanted to unionize, and again, I say that having never worked there, just knowing the brewery and what they talk about for community and employees and all of that, I was very surprised to hear that. And I think especially with lower paid jobs, and we know brewing doesn't pay a ton, that it's very common that if a union is put forward, I think a lot of times it passes. So the fact that it didn't pass, I think, says a lot, about that. And this is reading into some things there and not having firsthand knowledge, but I think a 2/3 vote against the union probably says a good bit there.
Yeah, so. I think so. And somebody else also pointed out that the Creature Comforts is a certified B Corp, and I don't remember what all goes into that, but some of that is, I believe, treating your employees in a good way. So I think that they've already put forth a lot of effort to do some of the things that you might ordinarily need a union to do. Again, I forget the specifics of the B Corp. I looked into it a while back, but and this is all the things we hear about from outside. So it'll be interesting to see if anything happens with the challenge, because you never know with these things. But it looks like it's not happening. So
yeah, interesting. Well, guys, moving right along, let's talk about our beers of the week. We want to thank our friends at the Nest, as always, for sponsoring this segment. Guys, this feels so weird saying this, but the holidays are coming up. I was at Walmart the other day, something I do like once every 3 years. The Christmas trees are out in full force there. They're ready for it. The commercials are coming, but since the holidays are coming, you need to plan your holiday parties. And if you want to have a good holiday party, you like some barbecue, you like beer, the Nest can take care of you. So give the Nest a call for your holiday party. If you're not looking for a holiday party, maybe you just want to party. Maybe you want to get away from the family at the holidays. That's fine. We're not going to judge you. They've got a gorgeous patio with a fireplace and heaters. You can get you a cold beer, order you some nachos, sit in the corner, turn your back to everyone else. No one will mind. You'll be totally fine. But if you want to party, you want to invite some friends, family, coworkers along, the Nest will help you get a fantastic party together. So thanks again to the Nest for sponsoring our beers of the week. So on our beers, you know what, Isaac, John, we're going to start with you. Isaac, do you have a cold beer in front of you right now?
Yes, I do, actually.
What are you enjoying?
Well, because I have to be on brand, so
absolutely.
Pixelated Space Time. It's a Session Citra IPA that we released. I think it was last week or the week before. It was pretty recent, the past couple of weeks. So 5%. Lots of oats for that creamy, soft mouthfeel, and just a whole lot of Citra.
I think the Citra came through really good in that beer. Like, I really like that.
Yeah, it's really juicy.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Not surprised.
Not that I like.
That's it, John.
Gotta love Citra.
Yeah. I have Abstract Machine. Hard to see, but we have a kind of a standard IPA State Machine. And this is an offshoot of that where Isaac triple dry hopped it. What's that guy, Isaac? It's a Citra Centennial. Oh yeah, we use Centennial in it too.
Yeah.
I was bugging him. Let's try Centennial in one.
He's like, fine.
In my homebrew days, that worked out awesome.
Yeah. That's totally different topic, but it's interesting to see the hops that were super cool. 5-10 years ago, whatever, that you just Galaxy. I don't hear Galaxy mentioned much anymore, but that was
we use a fair amount.
Fair amount.
Yeah.
Centennial is
but I don't hear
one.
people. I don't hear it as much talked about as the focal hop.
Well, definitely not. It's not the hype it was, and I think there's a lot more hops now.
Yes, yeah,
Rawaka, or whatever, Nectaron, So
you could just make a name up and throw it out, and we just nod. John.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds right. So
it's my favorite. I love that one. So juicy.
Sure. That's tropical, right? Passion,
right?
very fruity. Yeah.
It's funny to see the marketing. When you see all the hops, what are the flavor profiles?
Yeah,
it's tropical fruit and citrus. And,
yeah.
Wasn't that last one too?
Yeah.
That's what Brian, when he tastes, he just picks a few descriptors. He has a totally flat palate. He'll be like, yeah, I get stone fruit, a little bit of citrus in this, maybe some pine. And everybody's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I got a dartboard of just like of fruity flavors. I just throw darts at it. It's like, stone fruit, raspberries, whatever, strawberries.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Brian, you just got back from a Nashville trip. So a few that you've got, you're drinking some of your Nashville beers. You did a little pregame there with Smith & Lintz, a German Pils, from Barrique Brewing and Blending. Love those guys. They're doing really cool stuff with lagers there at Barrique. But it looks like you've got a Wet Hop Reserve, which is a wild ale with wet hops, and a little other half action 11 pounders, Brian, which is a DDH IPA. Nate is sipping some Two Tides and Halfway Crooks Waterfall, which is a Pilsner. From Green Man, he's got their porter. That's a good classic porter, Nate. Yep. You really can't argue with that. From Timber Ales, we have Pancakes by the Campfire, which is a stout with maple syrup, coffee, and bananas, BANANAS. So that sounds good. I saw a meme on Twitter today, the Drake meme, where he's turning away and then it said pumpkin beers in August, and then it's like Christmas beers in October. I was like, yes, absolutely. I'm totally good with that. So y'all, I'm taking it easy today. I've got from Oyster City. I'm sipping some Hooter Brown, just a classic old brown ale from our friends over there at Oyster City. So good stuff. All right, guys, we would love to know more about Spyglass Brewing. John, if you were to give an elevator pitch on Spyglass, who you are and what you're about, what would you tell us about Spyglass?
Well, elevator pitch, that would take me some time to think of how to condense that, but
need a long elevator.
Yeah, a long ride. Who are we? Well, we've been in business about 5 years now in New Hampshire, and for 4 years in our old facility, which was getting very crowded with tanks, and had a very small tap room. And then about 10 months ago, we moved into our new facility, and we have a lot more room now. So this is our big place, we got, expanded our brewing system, and we have, like a 300 seat tap room. But we were, I was a home brewer, and I had 3 friends that I worked with in the software industry. I'm an engineer before. And, we really liked beer. I liked home brewing, and they liked drinking it. And we thought, hey, we can start a brewery. That'll be a nice retirement gig. We can fade off into the sunset. But turns out it's a lot more work than software. So that part of the plan didn't really work out. So what are we about? I mean, we started out because we were really into the hazy IPA scene, 6-7 years ago, and still are. But we thought, we want to bring that to New Hampshire. There were some places doing that too, a couple of small places. But we thought, we want to make a place where we can have play with the hops on a big scale, and so that's what we started out really. We've always had a bunch of hazies on tap, along with a few other things. But now that we've moved into our new place, that's pretty much what sold in our old place. But in our new place, we have a restaurant too, and now a lot of different. We were surprised how much non-hazies sell. We just blew through like farmhouse ale, which would take forever to sell in our old place. Yeah, and we can't be happier. It's great. So Isaac gets to make more more than just hazies now, and
all the hazies.
Yeah, we used to make both kinds of beer, IPAs and double IPAs.
Yeah,
that's right. Very diverse portfolio here. So yeah.
But people still think of us as a double IPA house, and they we do make them, but we make a lot of stuff.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Yeah, no, that's what I've said, John. I see people online, like you see an IPA come out, and there's always someone that's like, oh my gosh, anytime you go to a brewery, it's nothing but IPAs. I have yet to go to a brewery where it's nothing but IPAs, unless, I mean, even if you go to a Trillium or a Treehouse or something, there's going to be a Pilsner or a Stout on there. You just see it a lot because they're popular. People like those, so you see them a lot. But if you go to your neighborhood brewery, they're going to have something on. It may not be the one that they're hyping on the internet. They're not going to talk about their new basic 5.5% brown ale and take out, put that all over. But actually, Sweetwater is talking about their brown ale right now.
They are. Yes.
They brought it back for a limited time there. But yeah, so there's always been something out there. I think it's unfair to say it's all IPAs. Yeah, there's a lot of IPAs out there because that's what people want. But there's going to be something for you there. So
yeah. We always have about a couple lagers, and we have American Stout right now, and like 3 sours, and so we have a lot more than IPAs.
Okay, Isaac, what's your
Grzycki? Come drink it.
What's that?
We have a Grzycki on tap.
Oh, that's right. You know what?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about that, Brian. I know that was one you want to talk about. You want to lead us into the Grzycki talk there?
Absolutely. And how do you say it properly first? Grzycki, is that right?
I'm French, so
yeah.
You say lay in front of it, lay Grzycki.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you brewed a Grzycki in collaboration with, is it Jaju Pierogi? And you used some special Polish hops in that. And I just want to hear all about it, how that came to be. And I definitely want to know about those hops and what they're like. So who wants to take that? Isaac, is that a question for you?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably for me. So yeah, Jaju Pierogi, it's 2 sisters. Started this company from the ground up. They're a very big name in the Boston area, and quickly becoming a national brand themselves. So we've kind of had some connection over the years because they do like pop-ups at breweries and stuff like that, selling pierogies. So they reached out and contacted me about doing a collaboration beer, and when you get down to it, when you talk about traditional Polish beers, there's really only one that comes up a lot, and it is the Grzycki. So that's what. So yeah, we planned on, and John, like the day before we brewed, he's like, "Wait, this is 100% smoked wheat beer." I'm like,
I found the recipe on Isaac's table. I'm like, "Damn, there's no barley in this beer. That's crazy, right? Like, is that even beer? I don't know."
Yeah. Isaac for like 3 months is like, "Don't tell John. Don't let him see the recipe."
There's no barley and it's smoky. God.
Well, I was like, it's not a secret. I think he just didn't really want to, process what
denial.
Especially, it's I think 3.4%. It's under 4%. It's a real low. The Lubitsky hops. The Polish hops. That was, I googled Polish hops. That was the one that came up that I could.
Okay.
Yeah, that was available. So we got those, and it's and quite honestly, the hops mostly add bitterness. A lot of the flavor gets lost in the smokiness of the beer. It's not overly smoky. It's got a light smoke character, but light smoke in beer is still sort of the main focus when you drink something. Yeah. But it's
I think this beer, a lot of it's the malt that you use, that special wheat malt, right?
Yeah, it's a oak smoke wheat malt. So it's
okay.
As opposed to there's that Beechwood smoked malt,
aged Beechwood smoke.
The beech smoked that's real prevalent in that, and sometimes when people use that in smoked beers, it can really overpower the beer. So this oak smoked malt is nice and light, and it's funny because people either love that beer or they hate that beer. No one's middle of the road on that beer.
Right.
We have we had a guy that ordered a liter of it and was, enjoyed every sip. And, we get a guy gets a sample in his flight and he's like, this is hot dog water. What are you guys doing? So it's always fun to read the reviews. But it was fun to make. It was, it's cool. It was pretty much a lost style that, breweries that, focus on traditional styles have been trying to revive for a long time. So it was fun to partner with someone so passionate about the Polish culture and stuff, and develop and put out something like this. So the chefs did a special with that we used Jaju pierogi and did a release day and stuff like that, and it had a good response.
So I'm pretty famously divided on smoked beers. It really, I would say I lean more towards I don't care for them most of the time. Like I know Schlenkerla is the one that a lot of people look to, and just way too much for me, way too far. But we talked to Switchback Brewing, and they sent us this really cool little taster set, smoked beer taster set, and they showed like this is 5%, this is 10%, this is, and why they did it. And I did like some of those until it started going to the other end. But that being said, I could see a Grodziskie and pierogies really dancing well together, so to speak there. And I wish we had pierogies like pop-ups at our breweries here. Now I'm jealous of that too. Brian, though, if you want to talk smoked beer, Brian's all about it.
I'm definitely a fan, and I did see that when I googled that Jaju pierogi, I saw that they are available in the Atlanta area. They are in some of the fresh markets.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so they've got range. Maybe they can come down here and do some events at some breweries.
I wouldn't be surprised. They go all over New England. Like they hustle. They're busy.
They must. They're all the way down here. So the one question I had about the oak smoke, is that traditional, or did you pick that just because you knew it would be lighter?
No, that's the traditional. Varman offers a version of it, and I think they started to develop that because of the effort to sort of revive the style. So yeah, I tried to and that's what I try to do with a lot of our classic styles, is try to make them as traditional as possible, just to try to really represent the style for what it is. And then we make a bunch of crazy shit too. So
all the crazy stuff. Good stuff. I'm curious. We're coming up on Halloween here. Are you guys doing anything fun for Halloween?
Well, we just came out with we have this sour. It's a green sour superconductor. And it's blue raspberry syrup, marshmallows, and pineapples and bananas. It's ridiculous, and people love it, and we like making it. And so that was our kind of probably Halloween beer release. We don't have a lot else going on, to be honest.
Okay. Did you say that the beer is green?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Very, very green.
Very green.
Yeah.
What's the ABV on that? Because I think if you really want to scare people, give them a jump scare, make it like 25%. So they gotta drink it like it's a regular, like smoothie sour, it's fruited sour, and it's rocket fuel.
It's like a 5%.
5.5. Yeah. After the base beer is like 7.5, but after the fruit and everything, it dilutes down to about 5.5%.
Okay, gotcha. Isaac, we talked about things, and you were saying how you were hazies at your old location and that. So what do you like to brew? Like what gets you excited on brew day?
It's fun actually. It's funny that my joke answer for that question is I like to brew the thing that's the easiest. But
nice smash brew.
Yeah. But honestly, that's for me, it's the lagers right now, trying to develop and make the best ones we can. And the other brewers, they kind of give me a little bit of a hard time because I don't let them brew them yet. I haven't. Those are still beers that I primarily brew. So yeah, those are the things now. I've after like 10 years and working in a few different places, it's like where so much of craft beer is always pushing the limits and how crazy can it get. And so I've been doing that professionally for so long. It's nice to sort of get back to the basics and sort of, something that's very simple and but difficult. That's what
simple may not even be the right word there, right? For those beers. So technically tricky. So.
Do you have a preference? And I know this question is huge because there's a lot of terrain in lager, but do you have a particular lager style or variation that you really like, or that you think you've really nailed? So either from a drinking standpoint or from a brewing standpoint.
I think pale lager is probably the thing, drink the most. There's a little brewery in the area called Notch. They're pretty well known for their lagers and stuff. And I'm, like when I first started, I remember John would tease me because he's like, they got 5 different pale lagers on. How can they be different? And I'm like looking at our board with 7 different double IPAs, and I'm like, well, it all depends on what you enjoy and the nuances and stuff. But I think that's the most. Variations of pale lager are the most popular, but I like to try different things. We actually have a Czech dark lager that came out really well. That surprised me how good it is, and people really like that. And we sold a lot of that, which I was really surprised at, because generally, even in the summer, like dark beer, people, that can be a tough sell, especially like a 4.5%, no adjunct dark beer. Like people are like, what is that? But but we blew through that. We had a rigger show up one day. We were getting some new tanks, and we never met the guy before, and this older guy, and out of the blue, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I was in here, having some food and some beer. He's like, that dark lager, that's something else. Like that just felt great to just get this unsolicited compliment and stuff. But mostly pale lagers. But like I said, we got a couple of there's a Helles that we do that we've made a few times now that comes out really well, and people drink a lot of it. So it's always trying to just get those beers a little bit better.
How's the lager scene up there? Because I've talked, we're probably up to about a half a dozen right here in the Atlanta metro that focus on lagers. And so it's kind of one of those things that I've said, whatever your reality is, you kind of think your bubble is representative of the overall scene there. But, I've talked to people in some other areas, and they're like, we just don't really have a lot. It's just not really a thing here. I know you mentioned like Notch, and I know there's some others up there through the new Northeast, but is it still a hazy town? Is it still a dippa town, or are people coming on board for lagers?
I think we have Schilling up north of us,
right?
In Hampshire,
Okay.
And there's a couple places in Mass of mainly lager, Jack's Abbey and stuff, but there's also a lot of breweries that, like us, they brew hazies, but they also brew lagers that are good and they sell. Like, I feel like I see an increasing interest, and I think it's fun. Like, you're saying, what do you like to brew the most? I like to brew like something we haven't brewed before. So even when Isaac told me the Grzinski, I'm like, it's all wheat and smoky. Yeah. But you know what? I wanted to know what that's like. So I was happy that he made it, and that's just what is fun for me. Like, if, there's a new, another lager, a new style lager, let's do it. I want to see what that's like, that we haven't brewed before,
Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No, I was just going, but I don't know, Isaac, I feel like there's more interest in lagers than there was 4 years ago or 5 years ago when we started our brewery.
Yeah,
maybe I was tuned out. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I feel like, and that's like you're alluded, I feel like the on-site consumption of lagers is huge, and that's what we keg a majority of our lagers, and then we have a small amount of cans, but the cans move fairly slow. I feel like people want to drink something light and easy when they're out, and then they want to buy double, triple IPAs and go home and get the job done.
Yeah. That's what Brian and I went out last weekend, and we went to a few different places. Like we started this nice seafood place with patio, and we had Genesee beer, just a red can Genesee out there. We started with that. And then we went over to Monday Night Brewing, where they were doing a big Scotch ale release. So they had the Scotch ale and the bourbon. Shout out to Monday Night, Drafty Kilt. And then they had some Imperial Stouts, so we drank some of those. But then we went over to another brewery, and they've got a beer called Emergency Drinking Beer. And I think they call that like a pseudo Pilsner, don't they? Or something like that, right?
I don't know if they still call it that. I think it might be a full-on Pilsner.
Euro Pilsner, something like that.
Yeah, maybe that, yeah.
Especially just sitting and hanging around, I gravitate towards those. It's hard to sit down and session as much as I've tried 15% stouts, So,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so
good stuff.
I was going to ask you, and I think you may have answered it with how this went, but if you put a brand new, like really good lager on and a brand new, really good milkshake IPA on, which would sell faster, do you think? And I guess it would depend on if people were drinking it in or taking it away. So
I don't really know, Isaac. I don't think the milkshake IPA. So we make milkshake IPAs now and then, and there's people who really love it when we do that, and they come out and they get it, and I think we do a pretty good job of it. But I don't think people sit there and have 3 pints of it, but they will have 3 pints of the lager, and rightly so. So I would guess the lager would sell faster. I don't know that though, but we also have 6 or 8 other hazies on tap as well. So the demand for hazies gets spread wide, right? Any one of them doesn't go as fast.
Makes sense to me. Brian, let's take a quick minute here. We would love to thank our sponsors of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Brian, if I'm going out, again, it's Halloween, man. And if there's one thing I don't want to get tricked with, it's my beer. Where should I go?
Yeah, so if you don't, it's hard to know if you go up to a door, if it's going to be a treat you get or if it's going to wind up being a dirty trick. I tell you, Truck and Tap is never going to serve you up a dirty trick. It's always going to be 20 taps of nothing but treats. And, here's a few examples. And it doesn't matter which location you go to, but here's a few examples that I picked from all 4 locations of the treats that they have available that are very thematically appropriate for this time of year. So if you went to Truck and Tap Woodstock, you could get yourself some Mickler's Beer Geek breakfast because it's always coffee stout season. If you go to Duluth, they have New Realms Oaxaca Chaca, which is a Mexican-style stout, which we love here. That's a really good one. Quite the treat. Alpharetta has Allagash's Once Upon an Orchard, Cherries and Raspberries, which is a dark fruited sour that sounds really good. Allagash doesn't do sours wrong ever. They're always great. And Lawrenceville has Creature Comforts Neon Cylinders, Rowdy Red, which is an intensely fruited sour with cranberry, raspberry, and cherry. So, yeah, perfect drinks for this time of year with the cooler temperatures. And there's a lot more to choose from, and all the beers are well suited for the temperatures, for the season, for everything coming up. So you're ready to go. And if you'd like to see a complete list, because there's a lot more treats on their boards, go to truckandtap.com and they'll hook you up. Truckandtap.com. And when you visit, tell them the Beer Guys sent you.
And, Brian, you can also go, if you're at the Battery Atlanta, Terrapin Brewery Atlanta is right there for you. As we've mentioned many times before, there's always something new on tap, Brian. And if you want to fright, the only thing that's going to get you is their scary, delicious beers there.
Yes.
So go on, check it out. They've got great barbecue there from Fox Brothers. And, kind of like you mentioned, Brian, this time of year, you got to catch that pocket here in Georgia. We're in the patio season right now. Our fall time is great for patio weather. During the day, we're probably going to be in the 70s. Have you a hoodie or something in the evening? But you know what? Go there. There's a nice patio right there at the Terrapin Brewery. They also have these very cool roller doors that even if you're inside, if you need to be out of the elements or something, you still get that outside feel. And the whole battery is there for you to wander around, get your to-go cup from the Terrapin Brewery. Go see what's happening around there. But they're going to be putting on something new, and they are there ready for you. Check them out. Terrapin Brewery, Atlanta at the Battery. Cool. Awesome. Moving right along. I lost my place, Brian. What's next?
Well, we have to get into the quad IPA. Is it hydrodynamics?
Yes.
And I have to know what makes it a quad. Is that just the IPA, or is there more going on with a quad IPA than that?
Well, I mean, it's essentially there's the evolution, the single IPA double, the triple. So the quad, I mean, it's a 12% hazy. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know other breweries make them. I guess it must just be the ABV. I guess I look at it, I equate it kind of like the Belgian sort of, single, double, triple, quad. So yeah, we used a new yeast strain from Omega, Sundew, which is actually a Belgian strain where they remove the phenolics. So it's a GMO strain. So you just get some really nice bright fruity esters and stuff. And actually with this particular strain, you get a little bit of like strawberry notes and stuff. We've made a few beers, a couple quads with it now. And it works out really well because it does, get you to that 12% ABV.
And leaves it super hazy.
Yeah,
That's the most interesting thing.
We were talking about it today, yeah, John and I, and we're like, man, like, because the first time we used, a little nervous being a Belgian yeast, like, is it gonna, is it gonna drop out and clear up? But the first batch, and this one I feel like is even hazier than the first batch. I mean,
well, you put so many hops in it.
Yeah,
I mean, Isaac, it's not just when we go to a triple, we put more hops. When we go to a quad, we put more hops until we're probably not making any money on this beer.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's $42 a pint.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like, how many pounds of hops are going in, like compared to like a triple IPA or imperial to this? Like how much bigger is that getting in terms of hop additions?
Well, we generally bump up. It's usually we bump up a pound a barrel dry hops. So I believe our single IPAs are 4 pounds a barrel. The doubles are 5, triples are 6, and the quads are 7.
With those kind of stats, Isaac, where do we cross from quad IPA to barley wine territory? They sound like they're probably playing close to each other. They're neighbors at least, right?
Yes, yeah. We actually do have a barley wine in the tank right now.
12.2%, just so
yeah. No, there's not a bunch of oats in the barley wine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not a bunch of fruity hops either.
Yeah, it's not
hazy barley wine. Has anybody done a hazy barley wine yet? Because that's an opportunity there, right?
Milkshake, hazy
barley wine.
Yeah. This is actually it's pretty glad that we use I think was it Chinook and Centennial. Like it's got a I wanted to shoot for that the Bigfoot, the Sierra Nevada classic sort of that's American barley wine, because that's, for me, that's when I first started drinking American barley wines, that's kind of what I have in my head. So I was kind of trying to make sort of my homage to that with the one we have in the tank. So yeah, there's a significant difference between that one and the quadruple IPA.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Is there an upper limit, you think, on the IPAs? Is it a possibility of a quintuple IPA? Is that doable, or is that completely out? Have we reached a level of impalatability or an inability to brew it?
No, well, I don't think. Well, I guess how strong can we make beer in New Hampshire, John? I guess that's really the question.
I think 14.
Okay, so maybe there is a possibility.
13.9999.
Yeah. I think
that's our cap here as well. We got that 14% cap. So we have seen a few, big stouts or other beers that are 13.9. 13.99. So right in there.
And I've the Dogfish Head, the 120 minute
Yeah.
I think they get up around 20%.
Some of those are crazy. Yeah.
That's how they do that. Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, one of the things here is people have talked about, like with the ABV, are politicians, and we're in the South, so politics are crazy. It's either business or religion, one side or the other when it comes to alcohol laws. So, you know, you're either fighting the distributors or the Southern Baptists here. But you know, when it comes to ABV, I think that's a lot more of a religious thing. People don't think you need that much alcohol. But I'm telling you, as someone who's bought 20% beer for $35 or $40 a bottle, your high school kids are not going to be getting drunk on Black. So yeah, there's a lot more dangerous stuff out there than a 15 or 20% beer, because these kids are not. That's not what they're going for with that. So.
They want that plastic jug of vodka for, you know, $10.
Oh yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah.
Plastic handle of vodka.
It's interesting you mentioned the sundew yeast. I was just thinking, like, you see, even a few years ago, I feel like the yeast makers have really gotten on a creative track. Like, there's so many, they're doing so many weird and interesting things. You know, these genetic, you know, engineered yeasts like this. They're you know, removing the phenolics from this Belgian. And
is that illegal? That sounds like it should be illegal, taking phenolics out of a Belgian yeast, man. So,
not if you don't want to make a Belgian ale.
Don't use a Belgian yeast. So, but yeah, like the thiolized yeast and different.
Yeah, we've done some
out
stuff
there.
with that.
So
and now I see they're doing the yeasts with the. They've taken out the diacetyl precursor production.
Oh, the yeast with VDK,
that's interesting.
Or the ALDC yeast,
Interesting stuff.
Who knows what? Who knows what they'll do?
I don't see a lot of. And Isaac, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it may just be that I probably pay more attention to like hops and yeast. But what's happening in the malt world out there? Is there new stuff or exciting stuff coming from the maltsters?
We've been there's a local maltster up in Maine called Blue Ox. They're becoming more and more prevalent. Bissell Brothers uses them in their beers. Allagash uses them in a lot of stuff. So they're, you know, they get some high profile breweries and stuff. And we've used them a few times now, and we've and happy with the results and stuff. There's definitely that's another place that you're starting to see some more local maltsters and stuff pop up. And you know, that's, you know, part of the you know, keep things local sort of thing is, you know, it's, you know, 10 years ago you couldn't make in New England, you couldn't make a beer with all local ingredients, because you could, it probably wouldn't taste very good, you know. It just you know what was available out there. But you know, and you've been seeing that with hops for years. And I think malt, you know, like John's saying with the yeast stuff, I think maltsters are seeing an opportunity, and we notice there is a flavor difference. I mean, you do notice, you know, the beer made with Blue Ox malt versus one of the, you know, the big places that makes, you know, tens of thousands of pounds at a time, you know, in the Midwest and stuff. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, we make very good beer with that malt as well. But, you know, when there's so many breweries in the, you know, in the US, and, you know, a lot of them are doing a lot of the same stuff, you look for little things like that to, you know, give you an edge or separate yourself. And we've been happy, you know, with the stuff from Blue, you know, looking forward to trying, you know, more different products from there. They're building a new facility, and, you know, going to be a lot for more stuff. So we're looking forward to, you know, trying some different things with that as well. But I think malt is, that's another frontier that's growing, you know, small maltsters.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think when you said that, I was like, I think that's probably the thing in malt. You know, we've seen, we've got a couple down here. We had, unfortunately, we did have a maltster try to launch here in Georgia Malting, and we were in touch, and he couldn't get off the ground. Said, you know, he launched right in like 2020, so you know, just a terrible time to launch a malt house. But you know, we do have in Asheville, you know, there's you know, our local enough, and they do a lot of the grains from the Southeast. They've worked with breweries. You know, you may not get a small brewery to work with a Wireman or whatever to make a custom malt, you know, but you got the small guy here they can work. I forget what it was, but they did something with, I think it was red corn or something like that.
Interesting.
That they did, being down here in the South, get our grits in our beer when we can.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Or maybe it was a red wheat.
There's some sort of is it a midnight wheat or a red wheat or something
midnight?
Like that?
There's a midnight wheat.
There's some regional version, I think, of wheat that's available out here. Have you guys done anything? We talked about this in the last show, and I think it's kind of really niche, but raw ales. I was thinking malts, and I was thinking about all the proteins, and I'm like, oh yeah, raw ales. We were talking about that. Apparently that's really hot in New Zealand right now. If you guys mess with that at all,
I'm not familiar.
A no boil or
essentially either no boil or minimal boil, or it's enough heat for pasteurization and no hot break, and basically no isomerization of alpha acids, or effectively, not much anyway. So I've tasted one in all of my years of drinking beer. I think maybe a second one. I think it was just one though, and so I've always been intrigued by it. And we saw an article last week that New Zealand is just going gangbusters with it. So I figured, we're talking about experimental grains, experimental malts. Maybe that's something to investigate once we get more and more of these malts that we can play with. Like get a different perspective on the malts that are out there. So it sounds like the answer is no, though.
No, I mean, as a home brewer, I've made some Berliner Weisses where I was no boil, but I mean that, because you want the protein for souring and stuff, and it's not, I mean, you get this nice doughy flavor from that, but I wasn't aware that was that was a thing. Yeah.
So there you go, John. You said you like to brew new stuff. There you go, man. There's one to put on the roster. Get your raw ale on there.
A raw Berliner. Yeah.
Yep.
There
Cuts
you
down
go.
the brew day. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Another thing that where was it here, guys? I saw here. Oh, packaging. So we've been another thing talking about recent news. It seems that these stovepipes are hot now, the 19.2 ounce cans. So have you guys went with any of the big as Brian likes to call them, the long beers?
No, we just do 16-ounce cans right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be a pain to readjust the canner every time we want to. We can barely keep it running when we keep it still.
Yeah, like, don't mess with it.
We could have Ironheart coming and do a run.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. That's interesting. I worked at a brewery before, the one I worked at before Spyglass, and we tried to do a run of those, and we ended up having to dump a lot. They just got out of code. Like, they just didn't sell very well. But that was pre-COVID. So
it's their time now.
Yeah, the market might have changed. They might have been ahead of their time at that time.
But we talked about one we like to say a beer. One that we talk a lot about that was a beer before its time, so to speak, was Founders has their backstage series of beers that they do. And several years ago, they did a Dissenter IPL. And that's the first beer I know released from Founders that just literally collected dust on the shelves. And people just were not ready for a lager or an India Pale lager. And then, we went through where people started calling them like hoppy pilsners or, so many things. And I think that was definitely a beer that it was a fantastic IPL. It was really good. It was
really good. Yeah.
But, it was, and, a lager in a 750 was kind of unusual, an unusual format. So, but that was one I think definitely, the timing on that one really did it in there. So,
interesting. Yeah, I remember my first that was Jack's Abbey. They came out with I think it was Mass Rising was their first IPL that I had, and that was they were trying to do the German, the like 500 ml glass bottles and stuff, which obviously they've gotten away from now because everyone wants cans. But
it's crazy how much the marketing and the packaging. We talked to Maine Beer Company one time. They use the those are 500s, right?
I think so.
I believe 500 mil.
And it's amazing they've stuck to that, right?
That was it, because I asked them, I was like, hey, we're seeing this shift to cans, and people talked about these bottles just aren't as popular anymore. Any thought to change? And they're like, no, no, this defines us. This is who we are, and we're doing well with it. I'm like, cool. That seems like a good reason to me then. So
yep. It's their identity, right? Yeah.
I got to give them kudos because I picked up one of the beers. I saw the Born on Date, and I'm like, wow, this is really older than I would normally get. I am impressed with how well those hold up even on a worm shelf, even being IPAs. I've not encountered another producer of IPAs that has as shelf stable a product as they do. I don't know what they do. Possibly sold their souls to the devil or something. I don't know what they did.
I mean,
it's impressive.
They were all scientists that opened that place. So.
Well, that's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. The scientists there, John, you can write them code to track all the things that they need there, and so that's it. That's Brian's a software nerd as well. That's Brian's day job. He's a dev. So
I was going to ask if you've been able to apply any of your software engineering skills to the brewery, or if there's been any overlap there, aside from like maybe putting together the website, or if that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah, I hope our website doesn't represent our software skills. Well, I'll tell you where it came in handy once when COVID hit us, and we were in our old place, and basically 80% of our beer we sold through the taps. But we ran into the same issue that everyone else did, was holy crap, we're shut down. And so we were lucky to have the right size tanks and brewery that we could just flip and sell cans. We just canned everything and sold it out the back door. And a couple of my partners has hacked together an online ordering system that week, and we opened it at the end of the week. We did get crushed, and it crashed. But that was, we chose the wrong online processor, so so that came in handy. We were able to pivot really quick and stay in business.
We saw that scramble here too, with different things not working out, and people trying different approaches. There's a good thing that came out of COVID. We did get delivery and direct sales and stuff here for being able to deliver or take away a cocktail from a restaurant, something like that. So
did that stick? And they still
do
that?
That was one of the few that did actually stick around, because we couldn't get, any of the delivery there through Drizzly. And, every now and then with beer laws, that if something good's happening and it doesn't make sense, you don't question it. It's like, so, we're able to get mail order here now through certain things. And that's been a very no for us for a long time. And my guess, and it would be on the up and up, is that we've got there's a company here that acts as a distributor that's probably getting these deliveries and then taking them out, getting them to the retailers and things. So, I'm sure it's just thinking of a creative way to work within the system. To get that, but it was something. It's like we saw, I think it was Other Half was one of the first ones that we always would check these breweries to see if they delivered to Georgia, and it was always no. And then it's like Other Half now delivers to Georgia. I'm like, wait a minute, how?
I ordered immediately before they figure out that they can't. Order.
Yeah. Guys, we were talking earlier about just being able to throw out weird names of hops, and people be like, okay, that's good. That's great. That sounds good to me. So, Isaac, in the brewing side of things, are there any new hops or, anything else that you're excited about right now?
I mean, I think John mentioned it, like Nectaron is getting a lot of buzz. We made one beer with it that we really liked. It did well. There's another beer in the tank now, so we're using it for the second time. Actually, there's a hop called Eclipse that we're really happy with. We have sort of we have a double IPA in the tank right now. We use it for the first time in that beer, and this is, I think, the third batch we've made of it now. People keep asking for it. So yeah, there's
pink. We use pink lately. That was
pink, Mill 90. I think that was a Mill 95 hop. And that we Treehouse came out with a beer. I think it was a single hop pink. And we're like, what's up with this? And then our hop rep said, hey, he brought up, I get pink. We're like, oh yeah, let's get some of that and try it. And actually that's an interesting one because it's it's really its own thing. Like it's really got its own thing going on, and it did well. And I think it's interesting, but I think some people aren't quite sure what to think of it because it's outside of. I say a lot of times, like for a lot of the hazies, especially up in New England where we are, like, we use all these different hops and stuff, but a lot of people, there's like this sort of flavor sort of square that that the beer has to be in. Otherwise people are like, I don't know, like this tastes weird, or this isn't for me, or it's like I want different hops, but I want them all to taste similar to this flavor that I like, and it, I don't know, it's like it might be outside of that window, but it's not very far outside of that window. So it'll be we're gonna get some more and make that beer again. And it'll be interesting to see if that hop does pick up traction, if people start using it more. And
did you say pink, Isaac?
Yes.
See, that's a new one on me. Pink is a new hop for me there. So
I Googled it, and I think is this an experimental deal? Because I get it like an ID 158.
It may be recently named. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, generally when they name them, it's kind of Well, it's when you Google. Yeah, I guess the hop, it's all been sold to us as pink. So they must have enough confidence now, probably because Treehouse bought it.
Give it a name.
Give it a name.
Nate, looks like you got some info to share with us.
So I looked it up on Untapped, and according to Treehouse's entry, it says that it's grown in Wilder, Idaho, and they say that it has a lot of striking similarities to Galaxy hops. What they notice in tasting it is that it's got tropical fruit, bubblegum notes layered with some notes of strawberry, sweet fruit, and mixed berries.
It sounds tasty.
Yeah.
Bubblicious. It sounds bubblicious, Nate. So, yeah.
Did you guys ever work with the, I think it was an experimental. I don't know if it ever got elevated to its own full, like commercially widely available hop, but it was one that had like bourbon barrel notes or oak barrel notes to it. Do you guys remember that?
Was it Sabro?
That'd be coconutty, right?
Oh, coconut.
Yeah.
Sabro was coconutty. I think this one was more barrel, but maybe
sounds familiar. But
they noted wood notes in it. It was one of those that was like an HBC something.
Yeah, like 478 or something. 476. I thought it was interesting.
I remember Yazoo did something with it. So
interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
That was an interesting one. I'm looking up here. It's HBC 472.
472. Yeah.
And it says the aroma HBC 472 has been described as oak, bourbon barrels, coconut, vanilla, citrus, and sweet fruit.
Oh, interesting.
So a really unique hop. And trying the beers that have used it, you definitely get, barrel character, wood character in there.
Yeah, what styles did they use it in?
That's what I'm curious
trying
about.
to remember. Let me hit the Google again and see if it can tell me which one Yazoo did. I do remember that one of the beers that I tried with it, I thought that the hop did not fit that particular style.
I'd see you using that in like some sort of malt forward, like
I was gonna say amber ale,
or like a stout or something, or a porter,
barley wine.
Yeah,
I want to say that a local brewery here used it in just something that poured only in a tap room in an IPA, and it was a little odd, like to get that kind of woody astringency in the IPA, and it was not ideal, I don't think, but I got to try it, which I did appreciate. So that's a definite positive of that.
Google seems to show that I may be mistaken. It was Yazoo, so I don't want to throw them any shade unnecessarily. but I do remember that the beer that I tried it in, I'm like, hey, I really get these notes in here. This is interesting because they made it a point to say there's no barrel aging, there's no wood, but those notes were definitely there. So that was, interesting. It just didn't fit that particular beer, in my opinion. So,
yeah. No, that does sound interesting.
All the stuff they're doing, man, taking out taking out the phenolics and amplifying other things, stylizing, and we got Phantasm out there doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, that had a big moment. And did you guys see a lot of Phantasm talked about now, or
not as much now? We do still see it, but it definitely had a moment where it was like everything. That's I had a friend brewing. He had a small brewery, and he's like, "Yeah, we're going to use the thiolized yeast. We're going to use." He just like Nectaron, thiolized. Bring in the this and that. Take it all, put it all together there. So,
man,
notes of tropical notes with a hazy appearance there. So,
yeah, Phantasm was interesting. Yeah, because when I first heard, I'm like, "What is this stuff?" And like, you couldn't find any information. And I found the Instagram, and I like DM'd them. I'm like, "Hey, how do you get your stuff?" And they're like, "Well, we sell it, but it depends. It's like, who are you? Like, you had to send him like, give him your Untapped rating and stuff." And he's like, "All right, email this guy." And and then it was like, it was all very, it was very shady. So, but it was like,
you must be this cool to use these.
Products. UPS guy stands around the corner and goes, "Psst. Psst." You have to go behind a dark alley to get your delivery and
it's
stuff.
kind of it's Phantasm. He kind of sneezing but not saying it. Well, did you say no? I didn't say it. Nope.
So it's like all these backdoor deals and stuff, and all this money, and we finally get it in, and we're like, it's okay, I guess.
Like, all right, yeah. The hype, though, man, that hype can sell sometimes for sure.
Yeah, but I wonder if that was part of it. It was just so hard to get, and like, the it was like other half was, and that was what I think. I'm like, where are these guys getting this stuff? And it's like all the top name guys, and you're like, and I think that that was probably, so everyone was probably like, I need to get some. Like, what is this stuff?
Funny. That's funny. Colin's like, who are you? Are you worthy of the Phantasm?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but that was actually just dried in like ground up grape skins. Is that what that was? Phantasm? Am I right on that?
Not just the grape skin. Basically what's left over after they make the wine.
Yes, post fermentation.
Oh, so it's like dry grappa, basically for beer.
Like I said, when we first got it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we paid good money for $33 a pound for winery compost.
You're like, wait a minute, they got me.
In their defense, there is some processing they need to do it. I'm sure is cost of them.
No, I know. I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
Double dry composted. That's a thing. That could be a thing.
Well, I remember when
it does make a different beer, than you would make otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah, certainly.
I remember when they started, and I forget what they called it. It's been like the precursor to like the cryo powder stuff. But basically, one of the hop companies figured out they could scrape up the residue. What did they call that when they first released it, guys? That they basically started taking the residue and selling that. And at the time it was just, it's so intense and this and that. It was just such a big deal at the time.
Oh, I can't remember what that was.
I remember Sweetwater did a beer with it, and they actually did a big deal where they gave you a little baggie with a little bit of that powder in it. Like they put it on a card and dressed it up and everything. At the time it was the hype behind that was.
Was it the lupulin powder?
I think it was just lupulin powder at the time, like when they first started doing that, and it was just.
I want to say they gave it a funky name.
There was some name for what it was. Yeah. So hop resin, no. Anyhow, but guys.
But I remember when they first came out with that, and that was, and I think they went to pellet form because you try to dump that into a tank and big. Powder would be, you'd be like, all right, there's like $100 worth of powder on the outside of the tank that I was trying to dry up.
I found a product on it was this Northern brewer. It's a Cascade hop extract, and it comes in a syringe. And I'm like, what are you supposed to do with that? Why is it in a syringe? So anyway, that seems like the kind of marketing and process that was going along with what Tim was talking about. Kind of
so they can call it a hop shot. That's why it's got to be in the syringe there. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really great chatting with you, learning some about your brewery, and just chatting about all the craziness in craft beer. So, John, if folks want to know what in the heck is going on with Spyglass Brewing, what's going to be the best way for them to find out?
They can look us up on spyglassbrewing.com or look up our Instagram or Facebook, and we post there often.
Good deal. Awesome. John, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Isaac, and we thank you for joining us as well, sir.
All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, that wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. We'd love for you to come back and hang out with us again next week. We hope that you have a good week. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers. Boom. I forgot the outro music. I'll add it. You know what? Let me play it so I can just cut it. Let me play it just so I can cut it and paste it where it needs to go. Here we go. We're going to go. There we go.
All right.
There we did it. We did it.
Let's just staple it all together.
I can just cut it and move it over. We'll be all good there. So awesome. John, Isaac, hang out just a second. Guys, we're going to wrap up the live stream here. Thank you for joining us. If you're one of our Patreon supporters, we're going to post the link in Discord. You can come and join us for the after party. But have a good week, y'all, and we'll see you next week.